Morning.
Come on. Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, wake them up. I know that we have one member running just a little tad late, but if you do not mind, please stand. And I would like the former executive director that's standing by, Javier. Why don't you come up a second and lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance here?
You need to come to the front, Javier.
To the front.
Let's do a moment of silence first, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Vice Chairman, can you do us the honor?
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, bless this gathering. Bless the Miami-Dade Expressway Authority family. Bless Miami-Dade County and all of its residents. And with all that is going on in this world today, help us make this place and this world a better place for all. These and other blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Mr. Executive Director.
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We wanted to thank you for accompanying us today here.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've been on this side of the
Thank you, sir.
You always on this side.
Counselor?
Oh, I didn't know who that guy was. I was just going to ask.
How soon we forget.
Gone. All right. So I'd like to, Madame, what did you lead us
Yes, sir.
on the roll call?
Yes. Board Member Cueto.
Present.
Board Member Monesteem is on his way. Board Member Smith-Fano. Treasurer Weinberg. Here. Vice Chair Moss. Here. Chair Diaz.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
All right. With that, approval of the agenda. Everything that's on, I have a motion by Shirley, second by the Vice Chairman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay. Declaration of voting conflicts. Does anybody in the board have any issues with voting conflicts on any part of this agenda? Now's the time to come by and say so. Let the record show nobody jumped up or screamed out or did anything. So there is no conflicts. Moving on. Citizen comments. Any citizen that has, or any person that would like to speak on any of the topics that are on here, this is your time to come forth and be able to speak on any of them. Let the record show there was no stampede to get up here. So, with that said and done, we have an employee recognition, Madam Executive Director. Thank you for
Yes.
bringing that forward.
Yes. So as many of you know, I started about 2 months ago at this agency, and I've gotten to know a lot of my staff and meeting with them one-on-one, and it's important to recognize the efforts of what they do every day and to highlight the tenure of these employees. As a matter of fact, we have two that I do want to give a special presentation to. One is 15 years with MDX, and the other one is 20 years. So coming from the county, you know, when you hear about staff that's been around this long, I mean, it shows a lot, especially with the authority of how we value our employees and that they've been here for a very long time. I think I'm the newest, obviously, but a lot of staff, I think 9 years is the minimum past, you know, where we are today. So it just, I really want to recognize staff. I know it's been a roller coaster, and you know they've been very committed to this agency, and I do want to highlight that effort of our staff. So, Marie, I don't know if you want to go ahead and speak. I know two of these employees do work under Marie, and I wanted her to highlight each of our employees that will receive this recognition.
Christine Parrish.
It's not on.
I thought they controlled it from the back there.
Low bid.
So I think, well, let's call up, I don't know, let's call up Michelle Madelon and Christina Parrish. So
None of the two work?
Unless you want to stand up there, Marie.
Work? Yeah,
Well, come
why
on
don't
to
you just
the-
reach over to Marolisa? How do you?
You can come to the, yeah, let's.
Yeah,
let's-
just use the mic or.
So just a quick comment, Michelle, Michelle Madelon, actually, I've known Michelle probably the longest. I actually worked with Michelle at Florida Department of Transportation when I first started my internship with FDOT in the contracts department. And it actually fills me with joy that I can actually now work with her again. And obviously being an employee here for as long as she has, it shows a lot. And Christina, I just met you through this process and starting here, and I know Christina has been a huge asset to our agency, and I'm very proud of everything you guys have done. So, Marie, anything you want to add?
Certainly, Michelle is one of our procurement folks, and you couldn't find a finer procurement employee. She's very diligent, she's hardworking. We did steal her from FDOT. Christina has been with this organization before I was part of this organization. She was an accounting clerk. Today, she's the finance manager. She grew up with MDX. She went to school, she graduated. She makes me look good. All my staff make me look good. And you couldn't find better, hardworking, decent people that's part of MDX. So congratulations for your tenure.
Right here, okay.
We're not gonna have room over there.
And, go ahead.
Michelle, this is,
Did we get it backwards?
backwards, there you go.
Yeah, it seems like my life.
This sign, this photo op.
Over here. Okay, so, John, why don't you go first? A couple of words.
It's been my pleasure to be working with MDX. I mean, MDX has been really good to me. And, we are a family here, coming up from Javier and now Darlene. It couldn't be a more lovely place to work. And, I have great co-workers and, the staff and everybody, our consultants. So I'd just like to say thank you because it's been my pleasure to work for MDX.
Also, MDX has been obviously my second family. I've been here 20 years now, and I started under Servando, then Javier, now under Darlene, and it's really been great. MDX has always been very supportive, and I grew with MDX, and I hope to continue growing with MDX.
There we go.
Squeeze it in.
There you go.
Oh,
Say
yeah.
MDX.
Got it? Very good. No picture of that side? What do you got back there? Director, that's actually very nice. You're supposed to be on. I'm glad you started these. I appreciate it. All right. Mr. Counselor?
Yeah, sure. We'll go right into the meeting.
I think we got the public hearing item, that's 2A. You want to read it out?
Sure. Approval of MDX fiscal year 2023 annual budget and the 5-year work program for fiscal years 2023 through 2027.
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
I'd like to move this item 1 and 2. I want to sneak in my treasurer's report because it's only one word and give a little preface to Marie's presentation. She worked very hard on making this budget presentation, and you've all had a chance to look at the budget. It's been up on our website for a couple of weeks now, a few days. And one more for my treasurer's report, completing now April of 2022, which would be strong, as you will see from what we're presenting to you today. And I also want to add to our employees recognized both 15 and 20 years to come out of procurement and finance is extra special for any public agency. And that really is a testament to how serious we are about those two key processes in our agency.
I understand. I've been working with them now for a couple of weeks, looking at the budget and analyzing the budget, so I concur.
Very, very good.
Very good and great job.
And then also, I will be brief, but I did ask staff to, it's a sort of a MDX 101. I wanted our revenues shown on the screen. Marie had some excellent slides. I said, let's include those because it's important for folks to see our peak times, which are our highways, where's our really revenue coming from, and then slides on our projects, on our upcoming projects. So this is where our revenues are going. So bear with us, and Juan's
It's good
presentation
minds
is
think
also going to
alike,
be great.
because I told her to make sure
Yes.
that it's all presented.
Perfect,
You know.
perfect. So to anybody watching, anybody listening, you're in for a treat. Thank you, Mr. Chair, that's all.
No, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You got it.
We did go through the process, the executive director and I. We went through the budget, we analyzed it and went through different versions. The executive director met with each board member, or talked to each board member regarding any concerns or any adjustment in the budget. This is the final outcome of the budget today. The budget supports the 5 expressways that MDX operates, which is 112, which is the airport, 836, which is a Dolphin, Gratney, or Gratigny, however you want to pronounce it, 924, 874 Don Shula, and 878 Snapper Creek. And it supports about a little over 7 million drivers annually. The components of the budget is you have your total revenue, which is about 238 million, excuse me. Operating expenses of 59 million, capital expenditures of 140, debt service of 114, and your total expenditures anticipated for next year is about $314 million. And the debt service coverage that we anticipate is about 1.57, and that is a very important number. We are an enterprise fund. We do issue debt. We have about $1.2 billion outstanding, and the coverage ratio is compliance that we must meet on an annual basis. I'm going to go through each of these components a little bit in detail now. You have your toll revenue. That is about $221 million net of our cash back and other allowance. That's about a $6 million increase. That increase primarily comes from, you have a little bit of growth in traffic, better collections, and the revenue base is stable in the sense that there is no consumer price index built in. There's no toll rate adjustment. So it's basically primarily just growth in traffic and collections. Your fee revenue is $13 million. It's almost a $3 million increase year over year. And that is generated by our toll-by-plate customers, administration fees, late fees. And then you have investment and other income. We anticipate about $4.5 million, increase about 3.8, and that is generated from the cash on hand and some miscellaneous revenue. Obviously, interest rates are going up, so obviously that's why a big part of that number, you see it went up by almost $4 million. Just from a graphically perspective, you can see month over month, March is a big month for us. You have tourism, you have a lot that's happening in that month. But overall, for the entire year, it's about a 3% increase in the revenue base. This is the transaction perspective. Again, you can see month to month. Next year, we do anticipate more transactions, more traffic. Our treasurer asked us to include this additional information. I think it's actually pretty interesting. This is the airport. It starts obviously from southeast 8th Street almost to I-95. It's an east-west expressway. If you look here, this is peak hours. So the blue line is your peak hours. I'm going to have to put my glasses on here for a second. Yeah.
Happens to me all the time,
So on
too.
your peak hours, going eastbound, you get about 8,000 vehicles. Your peak is about 7, to 9 a.m. on the eastbound side, and then on the westbound side, the evening is about 3 o'clock to about 5 o'clock. Midday, they meet in the sense that it's equal traffic going east and west. What's interesting about it is that when you look at 112, you have a little bit less traffic in the evening going westbound than you did going eastbound in the morning. 112 generates about almost a little over 10% of the overall revenue. Then you have 836, which is, very important expressway, feeds the airport, feeds the seaport, downtown, various employment centers, warehouse districts. And I'm going to break this down into different parts of the expressway, from the western end to the midsection of the expressway, as well as to the eastern end. But 836 generates about 61% of the overall revenue for MDX. When you look at 17th Avenue, which is the eastern end, from 7 a.m. to about 9 is the peak hours. It increases, starts to pick up at 5 a.m. in the morning. The peak is 7 till about 9 a.m. And then on the west side, it's about 8 o'clock. So 8 o'clock to about 8 o'clock, you got about 6,000 vehicles, 6,500 vehicles compared to 7,000 on going east and west. Not quite equal, but pretty close. And then you got the evening, in the evening hours on the westbound, 3 o'clock, things start to wrap up. About 2 o'clock reaches peak from 3 to 5. And what you see is really that you have a little bit less going on the eastbound side of the expressway than you did on the westbound side. 57th Avenue, if I can keep track of my thing here. 57th Avenue, in the morning, your east and westbound are pretty equal, really on top of each other. 7 a.m. is your peak hour, and 8 a.m. is your peak hour going westbound. Then you have the steady flow on the eastbound, the blue line, throughout the entire day. Then it kind of dips down right around 6 p.m. On the westbound side, it picks up at 1 o'clock, and the height of rush hour traffic at 5 p.m. to about 7. What you can kind of see here also is just kind of some of the travel patterns, because you have about 10,000 vehicles in the morning, but you have more in the evening. So people's travel patterns, they don't necessarily go the same way, where they'll go eastbound and come back westbound. So you can see that there's more traffic on the evening than there is in the morning. It's just kind of how origin, destination, what the travel patterns are. And then on 97th Avenue, our peak hours going eastbound is 7 to about 8 o'clock is the peak, 7 to 8 is the peak. And then the evening is about 5 p.m. And it steadily increases right around 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Don Shula is a north to south expressway. And I think these statistics are pretty interesting too. Here it really clearly shows that, the blue line on the eastern end, it starts at 6 a.m., takes a peak at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. But when you look at in the afternoon going southbound, you can see that people take a different route, right? There's not the same number of vehicles. So I think we've always said that people don't necessarily go through, a tolling point and then they come back through a tolling point. They take a different route, and I think it's really interesting to look at these graphs. So peak hour for the southbound starts about, it's 3 o'clock to about 5 o'clock. $878, which is also an east-west expressway. These have a lot more shorter trips on the Snapper Creek, but peak hour is about 7 o'clock till about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, going the other direction. When you look at Gratney, similar analysis again, heavy in the morning, about 6 o'clock in the morning, 7, and then in the evening, you probably got till about 5 to 6 o'clock. And again, there's a difference between the flow of traffic, that it's not the same number of vehicles that are traveling. So you got a little bit less on the westbound in the evening. I think, our perspective is one of the items that are in the budget is to update the traffic and revenue model. And we would like in the upcoming, meetings to provide information about traffic patterns and origin and destination. But I thought those were interesting statistics to take a look at today. So back to the budget. On the operating expenses, we do anticipate spending $59 million. Operations about 40, maintenance 10, professional services administration 7.2, overall increase $6.98 million. And the major expenses, obviously toll operations is a big component of it. We partner with the state of Florida on the customer service back office. We have requirements, the image review, and the lane maintenance, software and hardware. That's a big component of the expenditures. Traffic Management Center, we monitor traffic flow. We do partner with FHP to dispatch when we see that there is broken down vehicle. We send out our service patrol, or if you want to call it, road rangers. We stay 7 days, a week, 24 hours. There's no charge to the drivers for this. If someone breaks down and has a flat tire or needs their battery jumped, we provide that service to our customers. And I believe that those vehicles are strategically along the different expressways. Peak hours, they have more people out there than, non-peak hours as far as the road ranger is concerned. Overall management system, we do have 2 general owner consultants that help support us and other professional services. General maintenance, these are going to be 12 new contracts that's going to be procured in the upcoming fiscal year. And obviously the breakdown is mowing and sweeping, litter pickup, guardrail, structure and lighting, and aesthetics maintenance. So those are going to be new contracts that have come before this board in fiscal year 2023. And then we have our public communications or public outreach. We are also going to start out our MDX for business. We're going to revive that program. It's going to look a little bit differently, but that's going to be starting up next year as well. From a percentage perspective, the CCSS is about 40, almost 39%, a little over, almost 40% of the budget. And then the toll operations for image review and the in-lane, a little bit under 10%. So these are kind of the stats on where the money is being spent percentage-wise. The increases, 50% of the increase came from the CCSS, 6% of it came from the image review and in-lane maintenance for toll operations. Our traffic and revenue modeling, we're going to spend about $200,000 extra. Our service patrol, $500,000. Public outreach, $500,000 increase as well. Just as a note on the public outreach, the budget itself is pretty much the same as it was in previous years. We actually decreased our public outreach in the last couple of years, so we're bringing it back to a more normal level. On structures, about $200,000. Structures is based upon timing and recommendation from our general area consultants. Based upon the age of the bridges, there's more bridges that are required to be inspected this upcoming fiscal year. We're looking to our GEC to help support us on managing the 12 additional maintenance contracts, so that's a little under $900,000, and then staffing $800,000, and then other professional services about $100,000, and other expenses went down, netted about $300,000. Debt service is $114 million. It's made up of principal and interest. We have 7 outstanding series. We don't anticipate any new debt or any refunding at this time. We may look towards the end of the year of starting the process of updating some of our documents that, if in the event that we're going out to market in fiscal 2024, we'll be prepared for that. We anticipate that the debt coverage, senior coverage, will be at 157. The board policy is 5 times coverage, and the documents require us to have a 1.2 coverage, so I think we're doing really well. Capital expenditure category is made up of 2 components, total of $140 million. We have non-project capital that makes up $600,000, which is replacement of headquarters, the roof, and our fleet is several years old. We're going to start replacing that and investing a little bit in the TMC technology. The work program is $139 million, and Juan Toledo, who is our Director of Engineer, is going to talk about the specific projects. So the board today is approving the 5-year work program, which is $593 million. It's made up of TIP of $129 million, or $346 for the 5-year. Capital improvements, $4 million, or $18 million for the 5-year. Renewal replacement, $5 million, or $227 for the 5-year work program. With that, I'm going to skip this slide and just have Juan come up and kind of give you the details and to talk about the status of the projects as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So before I get into the project highlights, we wanted to just quickly go over the process that we go through every year. MDX has its long-range master transportation plan that identifies all projects that we've seen that are benefit for not only our system, but for the community. And we try to make those in line with the county's initiatives, which is why we're always included in the TPO's long-range transportation plan. All these projects that we identify are identified with the county as well. Every year, we do a thorough feasibility analysis on every project, including the LMRTP, and we look to see how we can advance the projects based on available funding, what phases, and so forth. So we're always looking to update the work program on a, not only from year to year, but, the 5-year cycle. When the projects are deemed financially feasible, they're adopted by this board, which is the process that we're going through today. And then all the other projects that aren't feasible, they stay on the LRTP until we do the same evaluation every year. And only the projects that we can fund are the ones that we come in and we make sure that they don't interfere with any existing projects that are already part of the initial 5-year work program. So as Marie stated, the 5-year 23-27 window has a cost of $592 million. The way we split up this work program is we have over 75% of our projects are in the ground, design, build, or construction. 18% of our funds are dedicated to right-of-way, advancing components of the Kendall Parkway, which I'll speak to that in a little bit. And then we're also looking at project development and final design. Our work program, as always, it's about creating jobs, professional service contracts, giving to the small business. We have a very aggressive program that always, at minimum, tries to give at least 30% of our contracts or of our expended dollars to small and local businesses. And we're always critical to, priority is enhancing safety, system preservation, and making sure that our projects improve congestion and mobility on the system. So as I mentioned, the safety and renewal projects that we're always trying to advance, we under contract already is the Runway Safety Program. We're going to be starting that project in the next month. We're actually awarding the oversight contract today. In planning and final design under the R&R renewal replacement projects, we're looking at marking rehabilitations, all of our, all the striping on our system, making sure that we maintain our roads safe to the commuters, converting our system roadway lighting to LED, more efficient, more effective, cost effective. Milling and resurfacing, making sure that our pavements are up to standard, that our commuters are not bumping on the road, they're not causing any issues to their vehicles and to their safety as well. System sign panel replacement. Every so often, the signs that are out there, they start fading. We got to make sure that they're visible during the day as well as at night. And then we're also looking at auxiliary lanes on State Road 112 between 27th Avenue and 17th Avenue. This is an area of a lot of friction, a lot of safety concerns, so adding an auxiliary lane between that mile of road is going to really alleviate the traffic in that area and promote safety. The I-95-836 Interchange project, which is an ongoing project, it's been ongoing now for a couple of years. Our component of that project is the double-deck portion between 17th Avenue and I-95, where we're adding 4-lane viaduct. And what this is going to do is going to provide tremendous relief because right now you have 3 lanes that go everywhere and you're bottlenecking at I-95. What we're doing here is splitting up the movements between the double deck, between the top level and the low level, separating that traffic that goes to the beach, that goes to I-95 north and south, and that goes to downtown. And by doing that, you alleviate that congestion by splitting up that traffic. You're making it you're freeing up the flow. This is a partnership with DOT and the county. Again, completion of this project is scheduled for calendar year 26. And again, I showed a little map there, but this is the area between Northwest 17th. Our portion of the work is between Northwest 17th Avenue and I-95. Another project that's ongoing are the 836 ramp connections with the Turnpike. This is a project that got notice to proceed in February, March. We're already breaking ground, just moving earth around, getting those ramps ready, and we're in final design through the design-build process. This provides new connections to the west on the 836 extension. Those connections do not exist today. If people traveling on the Turnpike want to access West Miami-Dade, they got to get off at Northwest 12th or Southwest 8th Street. And that section of the Turnpike is tremendously congested. This is going to provide immediate relief when we open these ramps. All the benefits is that we're providing direct connections to the Dolphin Station that was recently opened a couple of years ago. And that's going to promote the transit component that we've always looked at, mobility options. And then we're also modifying the existing ramps in that area. On the Kendall Parkway, we're continuing to advance this project, and it's a, total cost for this project is over $1 billion. What we're funding in this work program is the continuing efforts of planning, permitting, and right-of-way. So we're going to continue to coordinate with the major permitting agencies, South Florida Water Management, Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and Army Corps of Engineers. We're getting those initial permits in so that when we do get ready to go to the street with these projects, they're ready to go and we're not holding anything up. And we're advancing the right-of-way. We have, I believe, $22 million budgeted for continuing the willing seller support. We continue to get owners of parcels in that area that want to get, that basically want to get rid of their parcels. They're coming to us, and we're looking at how those parcels align with our alignment and with our commitments to the county. And then we have the State Road 924 extension, the Granny extension to the west that ties into the Turnpike. This is basically using Northwest 138th Street as a viaduct, as a parkway, similar to Osceola Parkway in Orlando, where we're going to provide a better connection from State Road 924 to the Turnpike, direct access where you don't have to circumvent all the side streets and all the roads that are there now, but a much better flow onto an expressway to expressway connection. And we're doing it in a manner that's not going to interfere with the local movements in the area. So you have a big industrial commercial area, a lot of traffic in that area. These improvements are going to help with traffic along Northwest 38th Street and accessing the business, and again, making the connection from expressway to expressway better. We're currently partnered with the Florida Turnpike on this. They're building components of the bridge connections on their project. So we're finalizing our PD&E with them, the environmental studies, and then we're doing final design and construction in this work program. Finally, we're adding two new projects that we're adding is the 836 eastbound mainline widening. This is between 107th Avenue and 97th Avenue. What's happening today here in this area is that you have a lot of work going on in the Turnpike with the ramps that they just built, with the work that we're doing with the 836-34 heft ramp connections. And what we want to make sure is that we don't create bottlenecks for all the work that we know is coming up. We don't want to be reactive in the future. We want to make sure that everything's in place. We know that we're going to take traffic. We know that we're going to get more flow through that area, so we want to make lane continuity a priority. 3 general lanes of traffic in both directions. This is what this project is going to provide so that in the future, you don't create bottlenecks. And then finally, this is the commitment that we've made to the county for several years. This is the 137th Avenue widening between 8th Street and Southwest 24th Street, Coral Way. This is a connector that feeds our 836 extension right now, and it's probably one of the major roadways that feed 836 traffic coming and going. This segment of 137th Avenue today is a 4-lane segment, 2 lanes in each direction, but to the north and to the south, you have 6 lanes, 3 and 3. And what's happening is that you have basically an hourglass, a bottleneck right there, and you got, in the afternoon when people are going home, you're stacking traffic between Southwest 8th Street and Northwest 12th. Tremendous traffic in the afternoon, and then similar in the morning where you have traffic backed up all the way to Coral Way just to get to 8th Street and beyond to access the expressway. So this is going to open that link up. This is a promise that we made to the county through resolutions, and we're going to be starting design on this in the fall. And again, improving mobility across the county. And with that, we open it up to questions.
Thank you. At this point, first and foremost, do you want to add anything on the budget, or were you good?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I did want to point out on those critical slides, thank you, Marie, for indulging. I thought it was important for the public, especially, to see the peak hours of our roadways and where our revenues come from. We've always said toll roads are a choice. So when you see in this graphic how every one of our 5 highways has a difference in the people going in the AM and coming back in the PM. Some are minor, but some like 836 are which is, I mean, over 60% of our revenue comes from 836. Even 836 has that distinction between the eastbound traffic over westbound traffic at night. I think it's important for people to understand that not everyone utilizes our highways for their round trips. So arterial roadways and alternate roadways are still a thing. People still use them. And when they choose to entertain riding on an MDX roadway, they do so, and thereby contributing to our revenue. But it's not all the time, and it's not the only way for people to get around in Miami-Dade County. And I thought that was important for us to show the public. I'm very, very proud of this budget, and Marie and her team have been fantastic. Mr. Chair, you've seen that in working with them and all of our board members. I think coming off into this very, very strong year, coming off out of the dark of the pandemic, we continue to get strong, and I'm very, very excited for what we have on the coming year. I mean, what other agency can boast this incredible work program with 23 projects, 6,400 jobs, 30% for small and local business. I mean, we're making true impact to South Florida, Miami-Dade County, and all our millions of visitors. So I am very, very proud, as I know all of you are. So thank you for.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Executive Director, before I open up to the members, do you want to add anything to?
Yes, thank you, Marie and Juan. This is my first budget, as you all know, when I started 2 months ago. So it's been quite a ride to really. I walked into a very fast-paced learning timing schedule because I really didn't have much time to really understand, right? Like some people start in the middle of the year, but I started and I had to hit the ground running. I want to say I do appreciate everything that our staff has done in the past. And obviously, I'm very proud. This is my first budget as an executive director. And some of the things I want to highlight, I think that's obviously very apparent on this budget, is obviously we're furthering our public outreach. I think that's something that even when I was a board member, I constantly said, if we don't get out to our customers and get ahead of what it is that we're doing, what the good that MDX does for our public, then we're not really telling a story. So I'm really proud that we're actually increasing the budget with our public outreach. Also, of course, using technology to streamline our business functions is something that I'm also assessing as we're going forward. So this budget obviously covers that. Of course, managing and continuing to meet our financial objectives, continue to strive to meet the customer needs, strengthen key relationships and build stakeholder alliances, I think is something very important to point out, because without our partners from everywhere, with the state, the county, the cities, we cannot do what we do. So, I mean, this obviously shows with our long-range objectives of how we're working with other agencies to make these things happen. And of course, continue to improve our efforts in the maintenance of our roads. As you know, we have these 12 contracts coming in. I'm also looking at how we're assessing how we're doing our maintenance, and sometimes maybe based off our volumes, like Board Member Weinberg pointed out, some roads are heavily used more than others, and it's important that maybe our maintenance also has to reflect that and really put everything we got to make sure that we're really standing out when it comes to the maintenance of our roads. So that's something that's also included in this budget. And of course, reviving the MDX business program that includes a small and local business. That's something that when I started, I said I really want to look at really reaching out to the community, bringing them back, and how we can help these small businesses to do business, whether it's with us and with other agencies. We want to be able to leverage that. So I just wanted to point out those key notes on this budget.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Member Cueto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few questions for the staff, and first and foremost, just want to commend the team for putting together a wonderful budget, Madam Director and team, that really prioritizes what's at the heart of the agency and the key projects that need to get done for this community to continue moving forward with relation to mobility. One question that I noticed differential between revenues and expenditures in this year, and I understand that differential of about $70 million is being funded from cash on hand. Just curious as to what our cash balance will be at the end of the fiscal year.
I think it'll be around $50 million. We'll go ahead and deposit the excess revenue into the construction fund. There's a balance about $107 million by July 1, what we anticipate. And between the flow in and flow out, we anticipate roughly about $50 million at the end of July 1st of 2023.
Thank you, Marie. And just one other question with relation to some of these project costs. I know that the team had mentioned that they're updated. I know we're in an environment, we're living in Miami-Dade County, and everyone is, with constantly increasing costs, inflation, et cetera. How do we feel with relation to the project estimates, Mr. Toledo? And how reflective they are of the conditions into the future. Many of these projects have already been bid and procured, so I know there's a level of confidence and comfort there. But for some of the projects that are further out into the future, maybe into the fiscal year.
So currently, you mentioned, yes, we have a couple of projects that came in, and they're coming in at an under budget, under estimate. So that's a good thing right now. We're not seeing the impacts of the current inflation. But we do consider that in our estimates. What we've done in the past and what we do working with Marie very closely is that instead of padding the project budgets, which are harder to move around, Marie creates a contingency to account for any fluctuations when we don't have a good grasp on where we're at right now, which is kind of where we're at. It's too early to tell what the impacts of the current inflation are going to have on the current projects. So we need to see what that's going to be over the next few months as more projects come out and we see the market kind of stabilize. We do think there's going to be an impact. We feel comfortable that our estimates are reflective of the current market, and we have a contingency that will account for any variations that will come up.
Thank you, Mr. Toledo. And just last point, would like to commend the executive director and the team for prioritizing the community outreach and increasing the budget to do more in the messaging and the PIO front. Very important. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you. Member Fano?
Thank you,
Ms.
Chair.
Fano?
I commend you all. It was outstanding. I really enjoyed the PowerPoint. I hope you don't mind if I share it with some of my colleagues in supply chain at the college. Executive Director, Madam, you did hit the ground running, and I'm impressed. And I also want to publicly thank you for taking the time to speak with me and listen to my thoughts and the years of information that I carry. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, too, want to commend the Executive Director and all the staff for putting together what I consider to be a good budget. One of the things that I want to talk about, and I'm going to constantly talk about, and that is looking at the issue of aesthetics. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say that because I've always viewed MDX, even when I was on the Board of County Commissioners, as the gold standard in this town as it relates to the way that it handled aesthetics along the roadways. And I believe that in the past we were putting more resources, into that. And I'm going to push to continue that because I want our riders to experience not just riding on a roadway, but imagine riding through a park or a parkway. And that's what I think that we need to do because, again, MDX has always been the gold standard. When I was chairing neat streets, we talked about streets all over Miami-Dade County and the various, municipalities and other entities that had, roadways in their community. I would always, comment positively about MDX because MDX, was the gold standard. And I wanted MDX, and I want MDX to continue to be the gold standard because I want to be able to say to our partners who operate other roadways that you should be like MDX, not because I'm at MDX now.
And I could testify to that.
Yeah. But because I just believe that, we want our community to be the very best that they can be, and a part of that is aesthetics. And again, that's a little counter to perhaps some of the other philosophies. The other philosophies may be, well, as long as you've got a roadway and cars can run up and down, that's all we're concerned about. But we've got to be cognizant of the experience, that our drivers have when they're on our roadways. And I'd like for us to go back to that. The aesthetic lighting, 826, 836, when that was on, and I guess people started stealing the wire and stuff like that. I mean, people used to comment all the time about how beautiful it was when you go through that 826, 836 extension. And there was also the commitment to do something with 874, the extension. Javier, the extension, out to 137th Avenue. And so I want us to get that taken care of and get that done. Again, it goes back to aesthetics. Expanding public outreach. I think and I'm glad that we're increasing the resources because we do ourselves a disservice by not talking about all the good things that we do at MDX. And in particular, I want to make sure that we're focusing in on some communities that may not have been focused on in the past. I think we need to really do a significant outreach to the African American community so that it is aware of the things that we do as far as MDX is concerned. And so that when there is, the need to rally the community to support issues that are important to MDX and important to the community, we've got the African American community and other communities on board because they know what we do. Right now, don't know what we do, and so it's, there's no real reason, to be excited and mobilized. So we've got to do that. Small, local, minority participation, and I know we do a great job of 30%, but again, I just want to make sure that that all segments of the community are part of that 30%. You can have 30%, and that's a wonderful achievement on our part, but it needs to be, make sure that we've got diversity, within, that 30% or 40% or whatever that particular number, basically is. Also, Mr. Chairman, you talked about putting together a retreat. I think, it's important that when that retreat happens, that we can dive into some of these issues that have been expressed by all the board members, and, then help to massage the budget along the way if we need to at that point. And so I would look forward to, that suggestion that you made in reference to us having a retreat, particularly now, that maybe some of the smoke is starting to clear up, here at our wonderful organization and agency. So those are just some comments that I have. Again, I want to really thank staff. I know it's not easy sometimes, but putting together the budget is one of the major things that we do. And our treasurer, I have the utmost confidence, that she's there paying attention to every detail, of this budget. And again, I'm supportive of it, Mr. Chairman, and I look forward to that retreat that you talked about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I'll ditto your comments. It's this is not an easy thing, especially with everything that's happened in the past. But it's a new day. The Phoenix has come out, and we are looking better than ever. And we appreciate the hard work that everybody's put on, from our former executive director to our new executive director. The leadership has not failed this organization, and it hasn't failed in the members that are here also. So, following on the Vice Chairman's cocktail, it is important that this organization continues to see the very basic situations that we have before us, but also expanding the knowledge of the future. It's important. And what I mean by basic, I mean the 2+2 things, the simple things, the things that we take for granted but are important. And that's the people that work with us, the subs that work with us, the entities, all that. You could go into different parts of what I just said, but the most important part is that they give the maximum based on the cost that they provide for what they receive. And that maximum always goes to the citizens of this community, of this county, and that's important to us. And we'll be working on that retreat. I think it's important. I think it is something that we're facing unknown times. None of the crystal balls are really clear as to the future. And I've asked the other day that question in an event where I made a speech. I said, hold your hand up if you think that you know everything that's going to happen in the next couple of years. Because my crystal ball is a little foggy, so I need a little help. There wasn't too many hands that went up, I'll tell you that right now. But I will tell you that we have good people here in this organization. So we're looking at, and I'm coming up with some things, and I'm telling you very soon, that will maybe move the pillar of the organization to take it to a different level. Not to move the pillar in a sense to take it out, but to grow it. Maybe better said. Because I think that the need is there. The quality of the work that this organization does is second to none. And in the fastness, which is money, time is money, money is time, in my opinion. And that, nobody could touch this organization. Nobody. No other organization out there. And I've been around a while, as some of us that are here have been around quite a while. And it's very straight to the point. So once again, on my behalf, the budget is what it is, but it's put together properly. It's looked at every aspect of everything, which is what it should be. And it's very transparent and clear and easy to analyze, as said before. So with that, the projects moving forward, I think they're where they should be. And moving now that we have a complete direction, I'll talk more about that a little later. But with that, Member Monstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to first apologize for being late this morning.
Oh, by the way, before we move on, do you have any voting conflicts?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. I was getting that look from over there. So, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I had to speak at the Housing Summit this morning that the mayor organized. And I'll take this opportunity to use the word summit. And as I disagree with my dean on using the word retreat. I don't like retreats. I like summits.
It's like a vacation, right?
Well, yeah. Just to your wisdom.
So if my dean agrees, let's have a summit, not a retreat.
I started it. I'm the one to blame.
So with that, and I think, again, kudos to the administration, my colleagues on this board, and to attorneys and everybody, and reading the last report of on the decision of the courts to allow this organization to continue to do its work. Honestly, I feel that this is a testament to the leadership that have led this board over the years, and it's also provided us a new opportunity to create a true partnership, as just alluded by Commissioner Moss, with the community, to be very visible in the community, to be very transparent with what we do, because it's an opportunity to rebuild our trust in the community and to showcase the great things that this organization is doing. The project that just was talked about here, the double deck on 836. This is huge. This is what speaks to the kind of project that speaks to the work of this organization, and people see it happen. And most people don't know what's happening, and people even assume that that portion is being done by FDOT or what have you, and beginning with Javier and now with Darlene, Commissioner Moss is correct. Seeing and driving on our roads as a real estate professional, that's what I do. I'm all over the county. I'm on all these roads. I like what I see. with a little bit more aesthetics, oh my God, people will enjoy our community a whole lot more. Yeah, but again, it's a second chance. It's a new opportunity. We need to take advantage of it. Let's be proactive and rebranding ourselves because, you know, some of the naysayers will not be going away. So before they start redefining us again, let's define ourselves and tell people who we are and what we're doing. With that, I just want to follow up on a question that was asked by Board Member Cueto in regards to the reserves. We should have, and I'm sure we do, a minimum threshold in regards to reserve, because if we're taking 70 millions out of a reserve, right, to pay for some of our expenditures, what is that minimum threshold, and are we within it, or are we, or do we have work to do in order to make sure that we reach that?
We're certainly within our threshold. And Board Member Cueto asked about the construction fund, land-specific construction, but there's other reserves. There's a debt service reserve, a little bit over $100 million there, and then the general fund that we have for.
Is the 100 million there the minimum threshold, or is the minimum threshold more than?
No, that is the requirement under our bond documents. Our debt service reserve is a little bit under $100 million, and we have additional $100 million in a renewal replacement, which is our construction fund right now. And the flow of funds, the net revenue that is generated next year will go into for construction, and then the expenditures will be paid out of the construction fund, would leave us roughly around $50 million opening balance for the upcoming fiscal year 2024. We do also have reserves. We have rate stabilization, roughly around $30 million, and a general fund about $50 million. So if there is any foreseeable with costs, we do have reserves to tap into. We do like to keep a minimum between the rate stabilization and the general fund, $70 million, and I think what that does, it keeps our credit in the A category. Currently, we have one credit rating agency that we're BBB+, and I think that we perform so well from a credit perspective is because we did have healthy reserves. Years ago, I think when construction, I think in 2006 and 2007, we had reserves in the event that we had unforeseens, and at that time there were some unforeseens in construction costs. So I think we are prepared for that. I did explain to the chair as well as the executive director, we monitor that. We monitor our cash position on a monthly basis. And as Juan had explained, next year we'll start to update the capital program once again and reevaluate what projects that we can afford. And maybe next year we'll be in a position to actually issue debt. And I think that will expand the capital program at that point.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Member Monestein. With that, do we have to separate the budget from the 5-year work plan and have a vote separately, or do we have one vote? First of all, let me do this. It was public hearing. Is there anybody in the public that are speaking on these issues that we just went, which is 2A? Okay. Nobody came forth, so that suffices the public hearing side.
Yeah, they're important. Both are very important items, and I know we'd like to move things, but I'd separate them.
Okay. So I need a motion and a second on the approval on the MDX fiscal year 2023. Motion by the Vice Chair. The Treasurer, I'm sorry. Second by the Vice Chairman. Now with that, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Board Member Cueto?
In favor.
Board Member Monestein? Board Member Smith-Fano? Treasurer Weinberg? Vice Chair Moss? Chair Diaz?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, let's take now the 5-year work program for fiscal years 2023 through 2027. Do I have a motion? Motion by Member Cueto, second by the chair. Oh, you second it? Member Monestein. So with that, Madam Secretary.
Yes, sir. Board Member Cueto?
Yes.
Member Monestein? Board Member Smith-Fano? Treasurer Weinberg? Vice Chair Moss? Chair Diaz?
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right, we move on. Item 3.
3A.
see, regular agenda. This is part of the regular agenda. Item A, approval to advertise MDX contract number ITB 23-01, roof replacement of MDX HQ, engineer's estimate, $350,000.
All right, do I have a motion? Or I have a motion? Second by the treasurer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Next item.
Approval of contract award for MDX contract ITB 22-05, system-wide roadway lighting and maintenance, engineer's estimate, $4,444,441. Mr.
I have a motion by, I missed that voice in the county. By Vice Chairman Moss, second by Member Cueto. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Next item.
Item C, approval of contract award ITB 22-06, upgrade to toll systems, image storage, engineer's estimate, $582,474.60.
Okay, well, we're gonna move by the Vice Chairman and second by Member Fano. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Next item.
Item E, approval of supplemental number 5 to ITB 17-04, system-wide maintenance of traffic, $300,000.
Okay. So with that, I need a motion on item D. Motion by Member Modesty, second by our treasurer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next one.
Item F, reject all bids and re-advertise MDX ITB 22-04, system-wide guardrail and fencing maintenance.
Okay, motion by Member Cueto, second by members up here. So with that, I'll put it to Monestein. Member Monestein. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? None. Next item.
Okay, the next item is the elections, but before we get into the elections, in March, we approved a contract, but we never added a board oversight to the contract. It was 83618 Design Services for widening 137th Avenue from Southwest 8th Street to Southwest 26th Street. It was approved in March, but we never added a board oversight, and before we get through putting it out, just you have to add a board member to act as oversight.
So you want to put a board member oversight in? I'm trying to get it together.
Yeah. All we need is you already approved the item, just a board member was not assigned to oversight that contract.
So I need a member to assign that. What? Yeah, she just did one, so that's why I'm throwing it to you. We'll spread the wealth around. Member Cueto has been volunteered.
Voluntold, okay.
I saw his hand go up. Didn't you see his hand go up? Yeah, I saw his hand go up.
Yeah.
All in favor for Member Cueto to be...
Mr. Chair?
Hold on.
I'm
The
sorry
secretary
to
is...
interrupt you. I did not get a motion for item D. Doing that one again?
Motion, and there was 3 people seconded.
No, I think I missed that one.
I'm sorry?
That was for F. Item D, I never got a motion for item D.
No, let's do it. Do I have a motion? Motion by Member Cueto. Do I have a second? Second by the two to my right over here. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? None. Okay. So, did we take the vote, Member Cueto? Yes. Listen, after getting D pulled back, I want to make sure we're good. It's done. All right, it's done. So, elections.
Okay.
Mr. Attorney.
Okay, this is item G, elections. Do you mind if I stand over there? I kind of...
Do whatever you like. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add to the drama of elections now. I just like to stand. Okay. My usual procedure is I go through and go over how MDX does elections. It will take me 2 minutes, and then I'll ask if you have any questions. Part one is the nomination. I will open the floor for nomination for each board office, beginning with the office of chair. You may nominate yourself, or someone else may nominate you, but there must be a second to the nomination. Members need to be present. Members need not to be present to be nominated or elected. We don't have any members not present. Okay, then the second part would be candidate statements and questions. After the nominations for the offices are closed, if a nominee chooses, they may make a statement or distribute a written statement to the members and the executive secretary for the record. Fellow board members, I ask that individual questions. Part three is discussion. We'll close that part, and we'll have a discussion. And then the last part is the voting part. Okay, we don't have to do all this. I just like to put it on the record so everybody knows that we're following the rules. we haven't had too much discussions lately.
Line them up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the votings you'll be provided a written ballot for the votings, and they're all color coded. Blue is for the chair, yellow is for the vice chair, and green is always for the treasurer. If there's only one nominee for the position, voting be completed by acclamation. Okay, before I open the floor for the office of chair, is there any questions on the procedures?
No?
I
Yeah,
have a
that
question.
happens a lot, but,
Can I
you know,
have a
I just like
question?
to put it on the record, so if anybody has,
I have a question.
go ahead.
Oh, given that we don't have to exactly follow that, and I move to retain our current slate, which I do enjoy so very much, if it pleases the board, and we do one swoop vote, and then we can all record. If you want your paper, we can all record. But I think we've had tremendous leadership under our chair, and the wisdom of our vice chair, and I do enjoy numbers for the first time in my life. I'm a wordsmith. I get paid to talk, and I'm really enjoying my time as treasurer. And just for the record, we each retain our executive office for 2 years. However, when I was reelected the first time around, we ended up not existing for a bit. So I really didn't do a term. This was officially my first full term as treasurer, and I'd like to retain a second one. So I'll nominate myself for treasurer, our esteemed chair to retain his chairmanship, and our esteemed vice chair to retain his vice chairmanship, if we're allowed to do that.
And I'd like to
Yes, and of
second.
course, our incredible secretary and assistant secretary. Thank you, Mr.
We
Chair.
have a motion and we have a second. Well, 2 seconds. But besides that, I wanted to clear what exactly our treasurer said, and I'm glad she said it. Thank you, because it was important
A
to
rule
make
follower.
sure it was out there for the record.
Yes.
Do you need to add anything?
It may look like that we may have a conflict with the MDX bylaws. I'm confident there isn't. There is a rule in the MDX bylaws that states no member may be elected to an authority office for more than 2 full consecutive terms. I think the purpose of that sentence is, one, it limits terms on the authority's office, but more importantly, in case of a vacancy, someone can finish that term and still run for 2 consecutive full terms. For example, if our vice chair gets called, I don't know, gets a job somewhere, and he talks to Mrs. Moss, and they think it's in the
President of
best
the country, you know?
Yeah. Washington, D.C., Director of Transportation, and
Go anyway.
they think it's in his best interest. According to our bylaws, we have to have a vote for the vice chair our next meeting. So if Ms. Fano-Smith decides, yeah, I'll do that, she's not barred from doing 2 consecutive years. So I always like to, like my mom always said, when you're explaining, you already lost the argument, all right? So I like to bring that forward. I talked to Board Member Weinberg, and she said, get ahead of the scandal. I said, this is not a scandal. But I just like to put everything on the record. That way, we're all on the same page, and no one comes and asks you, hey, guess what? So
Appreciate it. So we have a motion
Yes.
on the table in a second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
So the motion, as it stands, is to retain the current executive officer slate, to include the chairmanship under
chairmanship.
Pepe Diaz, vice chairmanship under Dennis Moss, treasurer's office under Luz Weinberg, and our esteemed secretary, Maria Luisa Novo. And,
there's another, we have an assistant board secretary, too.
Yes,
I was going to do that with that later.
okay, yeah.
If you want to just do the officers. and then we'll do that
Okay.
real quick.
All right, I was just gonna do one sweep. I know the chairman appreciates brevity.
Yes, I do. Thank you. All right, so with that, we have, go ahead, Madam Secretary.
Cueto.
Yes.
Board Member Modestine.
Yes.
Board Member Smith-Fano. Treasurer Weinberg.
Yes.
Vice Chair Moss.
Yes.
Chairman Diaz.
Yes,
Unanimous, sir.
thank you.
Yay to us.
Thank you to all. Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the members. It's been, for me, a real pleasure participating on this board, and your leadership has been stellar to work between Miami-Dade County, the Board of County Commissioners, and MDX, because again, I've been on both sides of the fence. You've done a tremendous job of pulling all of that together and helping to stabilize, I think with this group here, stabilize things as the organization has gone through challenging times and will continue to go through challenging times. Again, thank you for a vote of confidence in terms of me, and I'm very glad that we retained the leadership during these times. And again, just thank you for your leadership, because that stability was really important as it relates to MDX.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Those words are deeply accepted and thanked for, not only for that, but honestly, your leadership, sir. When my colleague and dear friend and brother, Modestine, says all the time, the dean, it's a well-earned name and title, because you are incredible and you see things in a practical manner that leadership, unfortunately, is not seen too often lately, but it's important, and I want to thank you for your leadership. Also, Treasurer Weinberg, I want to thank you and the numbers. You stand strong, and you feel, and it's not just the numbers over there. It takes a leader and a person to really put forward and to make sure things stay on focus. Because unfortunately, this organization has been tried to be, they're trying to make it unfocused, but it hasn't, and it will not, and it will continue to run strong. And that's the leadership, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the wisdom and taking it fast as to make things brief. So with that, I want to thank my colleagues for the support and the help in making sure that this board continues forward, because the person that thinks that could control it by one, it's not well, because it takes all of us to make this move forward in a balanced way. So I thank everybody, and including our executive director, that jumped in 2 months ago, and the fire has not stopped. So don't expect it to go any lower, by the way. I just want.
At least for this moment, Mr. Chair, I want you to pause and stop thinking everybody else and accept to be thanked. Because you deserve it. I know you've always been a strong leader. I've served with you for almost 12 years now. But your leadership over this board has been impeccable, stellar. And frankly, and you, one of my two buddies on the county commission, we know each other well, and you came here with a new resolve. And it's showing, it's bearing fruits, and we all should be grateful. And this is not just your friend talking, this is a colleague, because sometimes, we have the privilege of being able to criticize each other, but today, honestly, we need to applaud you. Yeah.
That turn red?
I'm going to
you.
record this. A privilege to criticize each other. What a wonderful world we would be if that is how we accepted criticism.
In the last county commission meeting, he would have known what he meant.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, one last comment. When I first joined MDX almost 10 years ago, we were a board of 13 members. And we have some stellar heads on this board. And the saying there's strength in numbers is absolutely correct, but good things come in small packages is also very correct. And I think this is the most fun I have had sitting on this board now almost 10 years. As small as our board is, with the brain power that's in here, I feel like I've accomplished more in the past year since we rejoined each other than we had for a couple of years before we stopped getting together. So I am particularly excited about serving with this incredible group of people. And I'm very, very happy of my small package right now because we get a lot of big things done.
Thank you,
Yes.
guys. God bless and thank you. All right, let's move forward.
Oh, yeah.
We got
The
somebody
board
important
secretary and
over
the
there,
assistant
too.
board secretary. Usually I do a nice little talk about Marty, but she's unprecedented. I think that if Darlene told you how effective she is, I could sit here for days to talk to you about Marty, but Darlene has seen how effective she is, and I was wondering if I could get a motion to elect Maria Luisa Nova for the board secretary.
Motion from. Make it the board made a motion and the board second the motion.
Okay.
Okay? So as stated, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? None.
You want to do a speech? Yes. We have the board, we have an assistant board secretary, which takes over for the board secretary. Unfortunately, last year, our former assistant board secretary passed suddenly. And we hired someone in September to take his position. He's done a wonderful job. He works with me. He's the custodian of records, David Santiago. And I would ask that I get a motion to elect David as the assistant board secretary.
Oh, go ahead, Member Fano.
I did not know that. I'm happy to hear that. Is it possible to meet Mr. Santiago? I
Yeah,
don't know
sure.
about the
He'd
other
love to
board
give a
members.
speech.
I have not, I'd love to personally say thank you.
Yes.
Oh, thank you for bringing them forward.
And if I could just make a comment, Mr. Chair.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like I said, I'm getting to know my whole team, and I have to say that I can't do what I do without my team. And Mari and David have been exceptional, I have to say. I mean, they are my right hands. They walk me through processes. I probably bother Mari 30 times a day, asking her a million questions, but they really are exceptional in what they do. So along with, of course, all our staff in MDX, but these two, and David has been phenomenal, and I just wanted to add that note as well.
It was so nice this morning when I was coming in and you said hi to me, and I thought, that's a new face. So it's good to see a face with a title, and welcome to our family.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
My pleasure.
I think
Madam
it's
Treasurer.
important to, thank you, David. I think it's important to recognize, I don't want to make her cry or anything, but Maria Luisa truly is a consummate professional. I've served on boards, city councils, as some of us have, and your county councils, and she's like second to none. And the professionalism and the instant responsiveness, no matter what part of the world I might be at, and forget the time difference, if I had to text her because I forgot something or wanted to ask her something or couldn't do this thing or that, Mari is always instantly responsive, and she's on it. To the point where this weekend she even had someone cover my car because I left my windows open in my car. She is just an all-around chameleon who really has kept this board together from how big we were. You've served through many, many boards to how we are today. You could probably write a book one day, which could be a bestseller. But you manage us all so very well, Mari, and I had to stop and say thank you, just outright thank you.
Yes, yeah. And especially when we come in, and she sees our face and immediately says, order the coffee. Cafecito. So that covered both of them, or do we
Yes.
have to?
Yeah, and I want to thank you for pointing that out, because that's my bad. I should have introduced him. That was my fault. I really apologize to everybody. I apologize to David, too, and I will apologize. I should have introduced him, because he's done
later.
a fabulous job. All right?
All right, thank you. All right, let's move on. What do we have? Item 4,
Yeah, consent agenda?
approval and ratifications. This is going to, okay, Colorado. Is that for the IBTI? Because,
So, yes, the International Bridge Tunnel and Turnpike Association did a specific summit, and it wasn't really a conference, on road usage charging and finance specifically, on the finance, which I attended in Colorado. And I actually wanted to touch on one of the agenda items perhaps for this board summit, because it's a real conversation now going on globally. As you're aware, the IBTTA represents all the entire world's tolling agencies, and there were folks from Greece and Italy and Germany chiming into the U.S. Panels on conversations about electric vehicles and the rate settings and opportunities perhaps for different types of financing opportunities. So the ground is ripe for new age technologies, which I'm so excited that our new executive director is all about technology and bring us into the future. But this coming into the problem of EVs, not paying into the gas tax funding most infrastructure projects, us telling agencies on our own, funding our own infrastructure projects. So if there was ever a time for collaboration amongst all and how we solve this, what we thought a few years ago was the most incredible thing ever, electric vehicles. Now we're seeing the unintended consequences of saving the planet, and how do we get to save the planet without shooting ourselves in the foot. So that was part of the conversation. So I was very, very excited to have attended, and I can bore you with some of the copious notes I brought back with. But I did want to say that there is a level of conversation on a global scale out there, and how we not correct it, because it's, I guess, a good problem to have in the long run, but how do we work with it to our maximum advantage? So that's my report from that.
Madam Executive Director.
Yes, and if I can just continue what our board member Weinberg said, we also have the IBTTA, our annual meeting, which will be in Texas, Austin, Texas, which is September 18th through the 20th. And of course, you're all more than welcome to attend if you wish to do so. We also have the Global Summit, which will be in Dublin, Ireland this year, which will be October 23rd to October 25th. So I just wanted to put that out there in case anyone is interested. We could send more information by email to go ahead and get you guys registered and work on that. So
I am definitely interested in this. And anybody else that wants to, please make the decision and then talk to
yeah,
Executive
and
Director.
you can contact me, you can contact.
If I may add, anybody that's iffy, let me tell you, and not just because our amazing executive director, Javier Rodriguez, was served as president and is now an immediate past president of IBTTA, which is, I think, even better, but MDX is on the map of this global organization. I mean, we're talking hundreds of tolling agencies and our partners, our consultants, our vendors, our contractors that work with us. It is really an incredible gathering of brain power, and the agendas are never anything you're not going to come home with some kind of useful information with. It isn't one of those waste of time conferences, but I love walking the halls of these conferences for IBTTA. When people see MDX, they know MDX. I don't care what part of the country or what part of the world you are. They see MDX and they respect MDX, and I think it's important for us down here, local folk, to know that not only are we doing great work in the community, which we're about to blast on a bullhorn with our public information program, but we're also known across the world and the footprint of this country alone in the United States as a really responsible and standard-setting agency. And I'm very, very proud to attend. Everything they do, it's first class, but especially their finance conferences.
I also want to mention Team Florida. So I was able to attend May 12th and the 13th, Team Florida. Board member Weinberg attended. I know we had some of our employees that attended, Juan and Claudio and staff. Javier was there as well. And I got to meet, our peers, obviously, throughout the state of Florida, our director from CFX, and of course, our new director from the Tampa Expressway Authority. So it's great that we're a part of these organizations. We're a part of the map. They're really getting to know what we do down here, and we're also learning from them. Like I said, if we do not join forces with everyone, even in the tolling authority or anywhere else, then we're not doing our job. We have to learn from each other, and I think that's always something I tell all my staff and even my own children, if we're not learning from each other, we're not doing the right thing, right? And I think that this helps. And Team Florida talked a lot about technology too. I think, there's so many devices, there's so many things that we're moving towards the future that just solidifies what my vision has been, which is improving the technology for our residents in Dade County. As I started, when I was at the county, I had the pleasure to be able to do that, and I want to be able to continue that here at MDX.
So
And that's-
Team Florida, if I may mention, Team Florida is and team stands for something, it's Transportation Expressway and Management of FL, Florida. So that is the group of tolling agencies just in the state of Florida. So we convene every few months, every 3 months. I've served on the board for a few years. Darlene now is our new executive director, also has to sit on the board of directors, and that is where folks like the Tampa Authority, the Orlando Authority, even the Florida Turnpike. That's when we gather and we, just share what's going on, what are we doing, what are we not doing, what are we doing better, what can we improve, along again with our consultants and contractors and vendors. So there are arms. Tolling is not a standalone business. There are arms that support each other, and at the end of the day, really, your toll dollars go right into your roadways. So I invite all of our board members to participate, and you'll get the same feeling at Team Florida that you get in IBTTA of being an MDX member.
That's why I wanted to bring it out, because we want to invest in knowledge. We want to invest in the wisdom for this board to move forward as we're going to change things up a little bit. So once again, thank you. And make sure that these things that are important be to all members available.
Yes, and I'm going to ask my board secretary, I believe in July, we will be discussing this again, just to make sure and check in with you all. Gives you guys time to, some of it, obviously, it's out of the country. One is just here in Austin, so in case you want to go to both or one or the other, then we can go ahead and start planning for that.
Did we take the vote, or did we not? So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Next item is the approval of the minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
That's it.
Okay.
Approval of summary minutes.
So approval of the minutes for board meeting of April 22nd. Do I have a motion? Moving second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Continue on, information items, procurement report. I think that it's in there. We good? Do we need to approve it?
No, that's just an informational report.
Okay, reports, treasurer's report and executive director's report.
My report was one word, strong. So with that, Executive Director, Madam?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, of course, I know I'm going to try to keep this short because I can talk about all the great things we're doing here at MDX, but I do want to highlight a lot that's been going on the last 2 months since I started. Other than the budget, obviously, like I said, I really literally hit the ground running, and I think everyone knows it's been phenomenal. I think me coming into this role, obviously, I had big shoes to fill with Javier, and of course now it's me taking this now and making it my own and meeting our peers throughout the community. So I do want to highlight some meetings that we've attended and some of our community organizations that we've been a part of in the past that we're obviously now having more and more conversations on how we can become even stronger. And some of the meetings that we attended, of course, Team Florida is one that we discussed earlier. We also attended the Tpo Transportation Summit. That was great. I know some of us here on this board attended, and I think it was good information to the public. Now it became from a SMART plan to now a SMART program. And I'm looking forward to how we can work with them in the future, because of course we all know we can build so many roads for a certain amount of time, but it will come a time that transit is important. Public transportation is very important to our future, is even to my own grandkids, and they're my great-grandkids. So we got to build for the future. We have a 5-year vision, but we really got to think of where are we going 30, 40 years from now. And I think interacting with different organizations like the TPO and like the county and the state, we can really get that vision moving forward. The other thing I want to be doing, the one thing I'm working on is reestablishing our membership with COMTO. I'm not sure if anyone here, I think some of you know what COMTO is, and it's a conference of the minority officials. I coming from the county, I did attend several meetings, and I did speak to Melissa Roll-Scott of how we can reestablish our membership with them. I think that's important when we talk about how we're reaching out to our communities, and they do a lot. They really do a lot, and I'm looking forward to reestablishing that membership. The other thing, of course, attended the Women in Transportation Scholarship event. The South Florida chapter, we're trying to get more people to join here in the Miami sector. They do have the Broward chapter, and I think it's important. Again, it's putting us on the map to really be part of these organizations. I visited the FIU College of Engineering campus, which was, of course, I am an alumni of FIU, and it's something that it's go Panthers. They really wanted to do a meet and greet with me and had an interview on MDX, the great things that we do, and FIU has been very supportive of how they can also help MDX reach out to students if it's needed, or vice versa. And again, like I said, it's all about building these relationships and bridging these gaps. I do want to thank the vice chair for engaging MDX with the Career Meek Foundation, which we had staff attend, and EAC assisted us with that. And it was a Florida City's inaugural Survivors Peace and Praise Walk to give back to the community branded materials. We gave out book bags, transponders, pencil cases, pens, and sanitizers. And we also got several people to actually register with their mini transponders to be able to join and had many questions. So I really thank the vice chair for bringing us in the loop on that. And again, this is about our community outreach to really show the good that we do and how we can help our community if they have any questions and become more, touchable. It's we have to, accessible, reachable. How do we get out to the community? So I want to really thank the vice chair for that. Many of you may or may not know, I was nominated as the American Cancer Society chairwoman for the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer.
Yeah.
This is something, yes?
Yeah.
So October will be a very pink month here at MDX, and we're going to start, of course, reaching out to the community, but this is something very dear to my heart. I lost my mom when I was 23 years old to this disease, and get a little emotional when I talk about it, but this is something very big for me, and I really appreciate the community and ACS for trusting in me to lead this cause, so,
All right.
you know.
Actually, we're very proud of you,
Thank
Lee.
Thank you. So just on other notes, business, Miami Freedom Park. So we've already been approached by the representatives of Miami Freedom Park on the traffic methodology, because we all know the traffic that will come in this area, it will just be south of our property. So they're engaging us and other stakeholders like the county and the state on what this traffic methodology has to look like. The airport's also involved. So, of course, that's ongoing, and I believe staff, we've been having reoccurring meetings, and I know staff is meeting with them again today, this afternoon. So, to highlight Project of the Year, we submitted to the FBTA, the Florida, I think it's the Florida Transportation Builders Association had asked us to give nomination a packet for Project of the Year. And of course, our 87410 project, which is our extension to the Southwest 128th Street, was submitted. I'm hoping that we will be the winners of that award. But we also submitted a package for the IBTTA Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Award. And this is to highlight our small business program that we had started here. And this recognizes, of course, IBTTA member organizations for their contributions to advance racial justice, equity, and inclusion in a meaningful way. This award apparently started last year. I think this is the second go-around of the award, so we will find out those results in July. So I'm very excited, to hear the results of that. I wanted to point out the next month, and we talk about aesthetics, the aesthetics manual. That's something that has been something discussed even when I was a board member on this board. And of course, coming from the county that I actually oversaw maintenance and operations for 7 years, I know the importance of that. And of course, we're working on the aesthetics manual with our GEC to upgrade it, but I do want to say that at our next meeting in July, we want to give a thorough presentation on what we would like to envision for our scope of work before it goes out to the public, which is our mowing, our lawn services, our landscaping, our litter pickup, our sweeping. I want to say the 2 months I've been here, those are probably the most calls I get, especially on the 836. I want to have staff come and present how we've done it before, what there are ways that I think that we can establish an improvement to that process, and we're going to be presenting that to you all in the next board meeting to get feedback if that is something the board desires before we take this out to the public, because I think that's one of our most important maintenance contracts that we have, those 4 areas that are put together. So other than that, procurement update, I know it's part of your package, but I just wanted to highlight our current solicitations that are advertised is our statewide structures maintenance, which is scheduled, the award is scheduled for July. We also have solicited right now our power generators, our emergency power generators, and also our system-wide drainage inspection and maintenance as well, which the award will probably be sometime in September. And we're hoping to advertise for next week, which is what we just accomplished earlier in this meeting on the board oversight, which is our board member Cueto. That will be going out to be advertised for the design services for next week, we anticipate, if everything goes the way it's planned. So again, there's a lot more, there's a lot of things that have been ongoing these last 2 months, but I do want to thank this board for trusting in me. I want to say this has been so far an amazing experience. I'm really happy, again, that I can give back to the community and be able to be the new face of this agency. And again, I really appreciate Javier has been a huge support system for me, and I would be remiss to say if I don't mention his name, because he's been an anchor for me too, and my advice I get from him. So I just wanted to highlight, thank you to our past executive director for helping me, especially in the beginning of this process. So, and of course, all the board members.
Well, that's good. Now, as far as the next report, a question? Yeah, go ahead.
Darlene, when we spoke about this incredible opportunity we have for our maintenance and the
Yes.
beautification and the aesthetics, whatever, we had discussed perhaps, Mr. Chair, having a workshop rather than a meeting. This goes along with the whole new face of MDX, in my opinion. The colors that we select, are the logo, we've been going with safe, reliable, convenient for a few years now, which all of those words are true. We really wanted to give some time to that, and I thought perhaps a workshop in our conference room, which I haven't sat in a workshop for MDX in forever. I think we'll, in a more relaxed setting so staff can come in and we really can, so that once we're done with that workshop, you go out with and staff goes out with a real clear direction of what this board envisions. I mean, I've got a zillion ideas running through my head, and I think it'll be, rather than this, be a better setup for workshop.
That's part of the idea of as my brother said, the summit. We're going to try to do that very fast.
Okay,
This is
good.
something that we don't have to go into major organizational situation to try to do. And in there, we could discuss these issues. And like I said before, there's several issues I'm bringing forth for the future that will change to improve what we do here in MDX. So these are issues that this board has to mull over and to see if the shoe fits, per se. So that's an issue that really, to me, it's a non-brainer. That's something that MDX has been doing well for quite a long time, as stated by the Vice Chairman earlier, and of course, Member Monestein. But the issue is in the branding and everything else that you said, that all goes into play with what I'm trying to bring forth. Unfortunately, Sunshine does not let me speak to you guys individually unless we call a Sunshine meeting. So with that said and done, I'm trying to put it, because I'm respectful of everybody's time, to try to do it like a one-shot type thing, and something the executive director and I started talking about, but we haven't finished that conversation as to time, date, and moving forward on. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to clarify. So yes, what we were going to bring back now in July was specific just to the maintenance contract, just the maintenance. When we talk about rebranding and what we envision aesthetically for our expressway system, that would be the aesthetics manual. That's going to take some time, and that will require, I think, even further workshops. So I did have the idea that maybe in our July meeting, because I think we need to discuss that. I know there's some board members that will be out on that week of July 20, I think the meeting is
Actually,
July
yes.
29th, correct?
We need to
So
move
we
that
were,
meeting.
what we had anticipated was, well, let's see, right, so if we can move that to July 22nd, but what I really wanted to accomplish at that meeting on July 22nd, which we thought, well, we don't really have items, which we maybe we just do a meeting and then take a break. If you want to call it a workshop, we can, but this is just specific on the scope of our maintenance only. Now, when it comes to rebranding and what colors we paint our expressway system, then that we can do in our summit. And that's something that we can work on going through the aesthetics manual update. So that's separate. So I just wanted to separate both things because, of course, maintenance is something that is in front of us. We are currently working under an emergency contract. So that's, I just want to start getting some feedback from our board on ways that we can improve that before it goes and hits the street, because pretty much at some point we'll run out of capacity on that emergency contract. So we have to move that forward.
So with that, I wanted to make sure that, and you clarified it very well, that moving forward, we're going to, my comments, and there's something I think everybody here has known for the last couple of days, which we're very proud of, and that comes from the hard work our legal team has done, led by you, Carlos. I want to thank you for everything that has been done, and it has not been easy. It has been a lot of hard work from Javier that's sitting back there. I don't know why he's sitting in the back, but anyways. It has been a hard road, and one that, in my eyes, was not needed, but again, this is a free country, and people have a right to do what they think, and that's why we have a court system, and that's why I want you to give a brief as to what happened, and so on, and I'll finish my comments after that.
Okay. In October, we filed a complaint, a lawsuit, basically asking the court to make a decision on who actually owns the roadways, something we paid for in 1994, $91 million. And that was a subject, that was the subject. That was our complaint. The county joined the suit to defend home rule. So the home rule part was the county's. We filed for a summary judgment motion. It was heard in April. The GMX attorneys brought up a point, and the judge said, listen, I'll give you 3 more weeks to give me a brief on that specific issue, whether the ordinance was voidable or I don't know what, honestly, I still to today, I don't know what voidable means, but so they had 3 weeks, then we had 3 weeks, and then we met June 9th, where oral arguments were given, and the judge sided on our behalf. He ruled that those roads are MDX's roads, and that home rule will be respected. And that's something that's been going on for 60 years. Home rule is very, very clear. So they have 30 days to appeal that ruling. And so that'll be July 29th. So whether they appeal it or not, that's their decision. We have nothing to do. We have I'm a former FBI agent. We were trained to take all the credit. I would love to take all the credit for this, but this was totally a team effort with the outside counsel and the staff here, and the board. Because if the board didn't say move forward, there would be nothing. So I commend the former board and this board sticking to their guns and defending what's theirs and defending it for the people of Miami-Dade County, because that's who the real loser in all of this is the people of Miami-Dade County, toll payers of Miami-Dade County, because I think that I don't even have to look at our CFO and all the financing that we missed out on. I think every municipality in the country is probably refinanced with these historical low rates. But even so, we move forward, and we'll continue, and I will keep you updated. I'll let you know if they file for an appeal, and
And I appreciate that, and I appreciate the work that you've done, and Gene Stern and team also, incredible work. And as you stated, look, my father, early on, before I went in the Marine Corps, taught me, I lost everything I had to come to this country for freedom. But I was not going to let any man
that you had to kneel before any man without you having that decision to do so. Therefore, I lost everything to come to the freedom of this great country. But you stand on your values and you don't budge. And that's what this board is doing. It's standing on its values and it's not budging. Because what it's standing tall on is the reality and what this community needs. It's to continue to improve the roads and everything that this board has done and prior boards before it. So I will say, and I thank you for your support in putting me as chair, but as chairman, I'll make a blank statement and say, this Marine does not move in any direction but forward with the support of my colleagues, side by side, and moving forward and making sure that this board moves forward. Simple. Because this is what this is about, and this is what we are sworn to do in our oath. And that's the way I look at it. And I want to thank, once again, everybody that's involved. I hope and I pray, and I will try to meet with the state and hope that this nonsense ends, because it's got to end. Because $200 million in this community that was lost, it's a lot of money because of this. And there's no other way to say it but straight out. And that's the way I do talk. So I want to be clear that we will not deviate from our position based on what this board has instructed in moving forward, and I will move in that direct manner. So with that, that was my most important, I think, statement, as I've already stated in radio and on TV and interviews, that this board will move forward and continue to do the people's job, and we will improve in everything that we can. So I appreciate from my dear brother to my right the word summit, because it sounds better, and I will move on that, I promise, as fast as possible, and working together. Thank you all, because this is a team, and I appreciate it the way our treasurer said. It is hard work for everybody, but it is something that we're all pleased to be here and be part of. And that's, I think, a blessing. So with that, I want to thank you all once again. And Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, you have my 100% support in what you said and your actions in leading, this board. I'd just like to, just quickly, as the executive director said, I want to thank Yvette of Hope Communications and Esther. Was your cousin was out there, and Rick from EAC and his staff for coming to the Florida City, Peace
Amen.
Walk, and having a presence. I think that made a real difference, in the community, and we need to continue to do those kinds of things. So thank you, to your various organizations in your companies. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I actually appreciate it tremendously, because the more information we could get across this community signifies the importance of what this board is all about. And unfortunately, in the past, that communication was not really been given because it was too busy, this organization, just trying to simply survive. But the information is getting out and will get out, and especially with events that you did, Mr. Vice Chairman. So well done. Anything else before we move?
That's what I was going to ask.
A vote?
So
We need to
for the
take a
change
vote?
of the day,
A motion, and motion by Member Monstein, second by Member Fung. You won't, we moved it to the 22nd because, okay, all right. The majority, everybody else will be, right? Because the other date, nobody was basically going to be here. So, all right. I was actually going to put it in the afternoon for you.
You can,
Okay, we're good in the afternoon? All right, let's move it. I'm trying to help. Okay, so with that, did you get that?
July 22nd in the afternoon.
The afternoon. We're trying to help. I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? None. Okay, announcements, board meeting, we already did this, all right. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move it.
Second. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
The
Who?
new slate, the new office.